welcome everybody. I'm your host, Doug Jardine. This is Inside Ogden. It's all about you all the time, 24/7, and that's how long your mayor works, every single day. As a matter of fact, that's his middle name. Matthew 24/7 Godfrey joins us again. How are you, Mayor?
One of my middle names. We won't discuss the other ones.
There are other forums that might have different names for you, but
Yes.
that's okay. How are things going?
Great, thank you.
We're going to get into a lot of budget issues today, so take a deep breath and be ready to really let them have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are.
Dan Musgrave is also here as well, and we're going to be talking about everything that's going to happen in Ogden for the entire year, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got a full summer, and we want to give the viewers the calendar and the updates of everything that's going to take place so they can know when to attend.
And it's also good for them to know every once in a while where some of their monies are headed to help support downtown Ogden, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Come down and see all the changes taking place and all the events and activities. We're really a family-oriented downtown now.
Fantastic. We're actually going to start today with a little spot news. If Bill wants to roll some videotape, we know that you've been hearing about this all afternoon. Hazmat crews right down here on Historic 2-5 because there was a suspicious package and some powder outside, found inside the federal building. They coned off 25th Street down here. You couldn't move beyond there, not even to get ice cream at one of the famous local little parlors or anything. They just reopened the street about 20 minutes ago. What they found the powder to be was talcum powder. We don't know why anybody would have been using talcum powder inside the federal building. There's no showers or locker rooms or any racquetball courts or anything, but as a precaution, they did go ahead and detox 3 people who had come in contact with that powder, and they are obviously okay. So better safe than sorry, Mayor, and your folks again, hazmat crews and police and fire all did an excellent job, and you have to treat a situation like this as a worst case scenario all the time, and fortunately today, it was not, and there's the city council also there today, so that's good. I shouldn't have said that. But that is important that you always take a worst-case scenario stance on anything like that.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of choice. You have to take it seriously because you never know what it is going to be the real thing, and if nothing else, it's a good exercise for the guys to go out and make sure that their training is appropriate and we know how to handle these things. I was hoping they'd show us how they detox somebody.
Bill shot this before we were about an hour ago, so the detox probably was set up in an outside shower at some point around the corner, and so we didn't get that.
So it's really like Monsters, Inc. We're going to see them.
Oh, they just squirted them?
Squirt and scrub them.
Oh, they scrubbed them. Okay, all right. Well, Bill was there, and Bill Francis is everywhere, and that's why we like to involve ourselves with him as well. But that's what happening. That's what was happening downtown, ladies and gentlemen, today. And good news is nothing serious at all. Some talcum powder inside the federal building. So there you have it.
Yeah, good solution.
Let's start with you, Mayor, because there are some budget considerations and some budget numbers that we probably need to clear up today. And I know you want to do that, so take as long as you want, and then we'll switch over to Dan and talk about some happenings for the spring and summer.
Great. Well, there's a lot of discussion. There has been a lot of discussion over the years about city debt, and people will see us issuing a bond for something, and it's understandable that people are concerned about that money, and some, for their own political purposes, have tried to construe the city debt in a way that I think is extremely unfair. So I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation to go through the city debt to let you know exactly where we're at, and all these things are on public record, so you can see for yourself in our CAFR, it's called, Certified Annual Financial Review. That's a public document. It's online. You can go through and look at all this yourself. When we talk about city debt, what people are referring to, typically, the generic definition of this is really general obligation debt, because this is the money that you, the general taxpayer, and I are responsible for paying. We have to make sure that these debts are covered, and almost by any means necessary, the people that loaned the money to the city are going to collect that. So it's citizens' obligation to pay. It's covered by a variety of taxes, like the ones that are listed there. And we have a limit as to how much general obligation debt we can have, because there's only so much property sales, franchise tax revenue to sustain that and our general obligations to operate the city. So our general obligation debt will be paid off in 4 to maybe 5 years. The bulk of it will be, there's one debt remaining that we're paying off early, and when we're uncertain as to whether or not it'll take 4 or 5 years to have that last piece paid off. So we will be debt free, which is an amazing accomplishment for a city. our size and our age for our general obligation.
Unless other projects come on. Does that make
Correct.
sense?
Yeah, and there
Under
aren't
current
any.
projects in 4 to 5 years, the city would be debt-free.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the next administration could decide to take on something, but we have all brand new buildings, municipal building, public safety, public works. So we have our infrastructure in place to where I can't foresee that we would need any general obligation debt, but certainly a new council and administration could come up with something and obligate it to debt, but we don't see it right now.
Okay.
So moving on to the next slide, the enterprise debt, just for education, is something that's small, and it's associated with utilities. And so our utility funds, which operate independently of the city, so the general taxpayers aren't on the hook from their general tax funds, but rather this just flows through the water and sewer department. The next slide is talks about.
But for example, I don't want to interrupt but for example, the 2 new big water holding tanks up at the golf course, would that be enterprise tax projects?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's funded through the water bill, and it's very, very stable, very easy to calculate. That's not a fund that goes up and down and has no risk to taxpayers, if you will, and so that's categorized there. And the other one is some of these categories are actually slides that I didn't intend to show, but they're popping up, so we're happy to show them. It's kind of too much information probably for most viewers, but the Municipal Building Debt Authority is a special tool for the municipal building, and other ones that, like the Lindquist Field, that have a lease going along with them. So there is debt with the Lindquist Field, but the person paying off that debt is the Raptor.
The lessee.
Yeah, the Raptors are actually paying that. So the next area on the next slide is RDA debt. So this is where we're going to spend our time. And RDA debt is the one people will talk about city debt, and what they're really referring to is RDA debt. So it's a redevelopment agency or authority that is taking money from developers. It's actually the property tax money that developers are paying for new developments. And what happens is you have areas of the city that are very hard to develop. They're not developing on their own, and so we establish a redevelopment area. And to incentivize people to invest in this area because they wouldn't otherwise, or they're not doing it otherwise, is that we say, well, we'll provide a conduit for you to borrow your own future property taxes. So it's not our money they're borrowing their own money up front, and like I say, it just passes through us, but it's a lender, a big bank typically, that will provide funding to them up front for a major development that they're doing. So the developers are obligated to pay. Once again, I'm going to emphasize this as much as possible. It is not the general taxpayer that's paying off this debt. So our taxes aren't going up. It's the developer's taxes, property taxes, that go up because of his investment, and he is the one that is obligated to pay that. So having RDA debt is actually a very good thing, because it means that people are investing in our community in places that wouldn't be invested in otherwise. That's what we call the blighted, that's the technical definition, blighted areas of our town. So the more RDA debt you have, it means the more people are investing and the hardest to develop places within your community. So it's not something that we should become panicked about. Rather, it's something we should be cheering. We should be thrilled that the private sector is jumping in and investing in these areas. There are a lot of safeguards for this money. So this just doesn't go out automatically. The city council and the administration we appoint somebody from the city that sits on an RDA board, as does a school district, as does the county. So there are many people who sit on this RDA board and decide whether or not a developer is going to be allowed to borrow their own future tax dollars, or if there's going to be tax increment for them to even borrow from. So the school district and the county and the city, all are careful to make sure that we're not giving away something that isn't absolutely necessary. That if the development is going to happen with or without this tax increment, or with or without an RDA bond, then we say no. It's only when it's absolutely necessary that we we allow that to happen. So let's look at some of the numbers with RDA debt to see where we're at. Thank you. The other thing that's critical, if I read my own slides here, is that RDA debt creates RDA new revenue. So unlike city debt, where there is no revenue when you build a police station or a municipal building, there's no new revenue associated with that. In every case, RDA debt creates new revenue. In 2 cases, RDA bonds facilitated assets that are going to generate tens of millions of dollars in revenue, and I'll share those figures in a minute. Then there's also revenue that we can't capture tangibly, but there's benefit that's created to the area because we're creating jobs, additional revenue sources, or in many cases, most importantly, we're eliminating blight. So now I think we'll jump into more of the detail. I realize that this is probably not going to be very readable on your screen at home, but once again, all of these documents are on our website, so you can see them. But we could go through and I could list every one of these projects that have been done. Would encourage you to do so, to look at where there is RDA bonding. It's largely for the Junction project, the hotel project. It's 25th Street that has had RDAs. The American Can Building has had an RDA established so that that project could move forward. Along Wall Avenue, we've seen the cleanup of that area and new buildings coming up, and those have been facilitated with RDA areas, and the names of those projects are there listed on that sheet. 12th Street has also had a large one where Fresenius has been able to expand tremendously. They've invested about $500 million at Fresenius alone, and have added 1,000 jobs nearly in the past 10 years. So, and BDO is another area. So we can go up to the next slide, which will show so that's the total of all of those is about $50 million is the RDA debt over all the different districts in the city. So the RDA tax increment for 2010 was $11.2 million. So the new revenue that was created by all of these districts that have that $50 million of debt was $11 million in new revenue that's flowing into the different taxing entities. The Junction, the part that we own, will be worth $25.6 million by the year 2025. So if you go through and look at the RDA debt, there's a sizable piece that is for the Junction, but we need to remember that we will own that at the end of the term, and that's where the 2025 comes. When we're done paying that off, we still have this asset that's worth tens of millions of dollars. The Junction will generate over $3 million in revenue every year by 2025, and that amount keeps growing. The Solomon Center, which is one of the line items of debt that you see in that RDA bond list as well, generates $700,000 a year in new revenue that will continue after the year 2025 when those bonds are paid off. By the year, the reason for 2025 is that's when virtually all of those RDA bonds that are on the list now will be paid off. We hope there are more. Once again, this is something you don't want to see an end to. You want to see people continually investing in these hard to develop places of your town. So the next slide we're going to show is on returns. I mentioned we're just talking about property tax returns here, but there's also sales tax, jobs that are created, blight removal, which creates higher property taxes for the surrounding areas. It lowers crime and creates more occupancy in buildings that have been empty for many, many years. If you drive through downtown and look, you'll see that buildings that have been empty for a very long time are now full or are filling up. Some of those that aren't full yet we're working on, and we anticipate we will have full hopefully later on this year. So, and then there are other economic multipliers we could add to show that this is generating wealth for individuals as well as for the city as a whole. Numerically, if we talk about some of the returns, I think on our last slide, the RDA bonds are paid for by developers and not citizens, and they have a 20% return, which is remarkable. I mean, any of us who are attempting to have a retirement would kill for that kind of a return. and that's not our business. You know, the city's not in the business of making money, but if you look at the bonds that are outstanding and the revenue that's being generated, we're getting a tremendous return. The Junction carries an 11% return, which once again, that was not the purpose of the Junction. We didn't do that to make money. We did that to clean up this blighted area that was struggling to have any life to it and to get people coming back downtown. The Solomon Center has a 10% return. So when you hear people saying the city has, throw out these ghastly figures of, over $100 million of debt, that is true. We do. The vast majority of that is this RDA debt, and there are tremendous revenue streams that are associated with that keep coming to us when these bonds are paid off, and it's something that we should be excited about and cheering, and not something that should keep anybody up at night. So anyway, once again, I hope that helps people understand a little bit better.
And it's public access.
Yeah, everybody can look at it, and we are very happy to answer questions. If somebody does take the time to go through it and they have questions or concerns, give me a call, send me an email, call us now, and we'd love to talk about it. We don't have anything to hide. Somebody was saying recently that they heard that one of the reasons, or the reason primarily, that I was not running for re-election was because there was this huge debt looming, this payment that we weren't going to be able to pay, and so I was getting out of Dodge before that came due, which is ridiculous. It's all public knowledge. The city council knows about it, and we talk about it every year at this time when we go through our budget. So once again, we're happy to have a discussion about it, because we're actually very excited about what this money is doing and what it's creating for our community. I mean, some of it's necessity, some of it's not really exciting. We bonded for a lot of money for our infrastructure, and that's doesn't make anyone excited, but it's necessary and does provide a return for people.
Well, I appreciate that. That's an educational process for me there as well. And he said, feel free to call in, ask a question. He'd be more than happy to answer it. 801-629-8411. Oh, popped it up just in time, as Bill always does. And this is your show. We would love to have you call in and ask the mayor a question, or Dan Musgrave, if you have any questions about what's coming up as far as Downtown Ogden Inc. And let's switch gears and let the mayor catch his breath for a second, Dan, and talk about some of those exciting things starting. It would be kind of fun if we could ever have a 69-degree day and not then a 40-degree day like we're going to have tomorrow. But talk us through a couple of months of what's going to be happening here.
Well, we look out the windows from the 9th floor here and see that next storm rolling in, but we know it's going to clear off. Any snow that may fall tonight is going to melt, and we're going to have a summer season. But I just wanted to say, Mayor, we appreciate what you've done. It's just amazing to look out across the city and see the changes and the improvements. I've been over the Fresenius plant, state-of-the-art, 1,000 jobs, BDO, the Junction, the retail centers, the RS centers, and jobs coming in. It's just really amazing, especially when you look at other mid-sized cities across the country. They're losing jobs, high unemployment rates, all those kind of problems that they're experiencing. We've been able to overcome, and it's just done wonderful. And,
and it's not me, as you know, it's people like you. There's been so many people who've done great things, and today I was reading West Valley City is trying to plug is it a $7 million, I think it's $6.6 million deficit.
Oh, I didn't know
year.
that. I didn't see that today.
Yeah, it just came out today. I don't know how they're going to plug the $6.6 million gap this year. So we are very fortunate. It's from people like you who've dedicated their life to making this a great place to be, and all the exciting events you're going to talk to us about, I think, contribute tremendously.
Well, good. And we're excited with everything that's taken place in Ogden. And I wanted to bring in a calendar and a little bit of events and have our viewers grab a pencil and paper and be able to write down some of these dates and some of the activities coming up. I had to write some of them down, or I'm sure I'd miss some of them.
Oh, these are going to be found on a website as well, though, right?
Yes, they're on the website at downtownogdeninc.com.
So downtownogdeninc.com, and you'll be able to access all the information that Dan's about to relay to us anyway, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, so you can pick that up. But first event coming up is May 6th and 7th is the National Train Day down at our beautiful Union Station. May 20th we're excited about because that is the day that Pirates of the Caribbean is released, and the premiere theater will be at the Larry Miller Megaplex Theaters downtown, and we're partnering with the Larry Miller Theaters to do a treasure hunt, and so that all the people that come in and see the show, they can actually get a map, a treasure hunt, and they can go through store to store to store, collect items and prizes and rewards, and then attend the movie. A lot of people are dressing up, and it'll be a fun premiere event for us.
Remember, if you're writing that down, it's 1 R and 2 B's.
Yes.
Okay.
Get that spelling right. The Ogden Marathon is May 21st. On that Saturday, big event, one of the greatest marathons in the country now. Also June 3rd, if you haven't been down to our historic 25th Street car show, it's pretty amazing. We have over 100 entries, and they line the street all the way down from Wall up to Washington. And it's
Antiques to modern? Anything in between?
Antiques to modern, yeah.
Okay.
And just beautiful cars. Some of the cars, we've seen some Mustang Shelbys and GTs and others that come out that are worth $200,000 and $300,000.
And so far, I really haven't heard of anything that costs anything.
No, it's free to attend.
Yeah.
All these events. We do have some summer concerts that are
Sure.
ticketed events, and looking ahead to those, well, first June 10th and 11th is the Ogden Arts Festival that takes place down on historic 25th Street. And then also June 4th and 5th is the Ogden Music Festival that takes place out at Fort Buenaventura.
I was singing before the show, and I think Ethan, our studio audience participant tonight, pretty much encouraged me to enter the arts as a solo ensemble, an individual solo ensemble.
Are we gonna
Which
hear-
makes no sense at all. How can you be an ensemble as a solo?
Well, maybe you have a lot of range.
No, you're not going to hear that tonight.
We're not gonna hear it?
No,
No.
no. We would break television sets across your fine city if we did that. When
It
does the
might
farmers
improve
market start?
viewership, though.
Oh, there, yeah, or cost us some. Cost us the 3 that are watching. How about the farmers market? That gets going pretty soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's coming up in July, and every year in July, I think everybody that's around Ogden knows that July is Pioneer Rodeo Days, and that lasts the entire month. We'll begin with July 1st as our first Friday art stroll, and that is the day that the painted horses go out on the street.
I went like this. We're on, but he needs his hat now.
Oh.
Janae's going to throw the hat out. Here's our prop. Nicely
Oh,
done.
I'm amazed I caught it. So we'll put on the hat.
Now we can talk about July.
Now we'll talk about rodeo and Pioneer Days. And again, July 1st is the when the painted horses go out. And we're going to do a Western concert over at the Junction Plaza. And there will be dancing and all the activities that go on with Pioneer Days kick off. And then, as you mentioned, Farmers Market begins July 9th. That is opening day. And that is also the day that we have the Wild West shootouts every hour on the hour, and a big finale at noon. There's a stagecoach
So
rides.
those move from the city council chambers out into the main downtown area then?
No, we actually...
There are no shootouts there.
Just verbiage.
Yeah. No, we have those shootouts, and then we have the stagecoach rides for all the kids, and those stagecoach with those beautiful horses circles the amphitheater gardens. We have Blue Sage doing the concert that day. We have the antique tractor show spread throughout the park. We have Ron and Sundance, the amazing trick horse, doing all that they do, and then all the produce and the arts and the crafts and the great food and the aromas and everything. And everybody loves to come down to Farmers Market to be there and to be seen and all those types of activities.
I was in your office 10 days ago or so. You have a nice little staff there. It must be kind of fun for you to sit down and say, all right, here we've got the summer of 2011. What really can we put together now to say, Ogden, here's what we've got, and Ogden residents, thank you, and come enjoy your downtown?
Yeah, we actually put together 80 events through 3 months of the summer. So
Unbelievable, Dan.
we're booking things, and then someone has to cancel or has a family reunion. Then we fill in and change and coordinate all that. But we really enjoy it. We're kind of the party planners, and people have just given us real good positive feedback that they can bring their families and bring their kids and participate. 90% of it's free, no charge. We also do the Monday night at the movies. We do a brown bag lunch series at noon on Wednesdays. We do a Talent in the Park concert on Wednesday nights. And then, of course, the Saturday Farmers Market. So it's a full summer.
And I know you have more on your list, but Mayor and Dan both, let's talk about what funds Downtown Ogden Inc. Because that's important for people to take ownership in what's happening downtown, because a lot of them are helping make these things happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the nice thing is we're funded by the downtown merchants and property owners, and so they are partners in every event that goes on. So with their participation, that's where we get a portion of our funding to do these events. And because of their participation, these events are mostly free. As I mentioned, 90% free, and people can come down, participate, ride the Jupiter train, ride the trolley, and all those kinds of things. So.
And the background music was cute. And I think that's
I guess you are going to be singing.
I don't know that song, but I'll strum it on my stash.
Jump in on that.
Mayor, he mentioned 80 different activities. I can't imagine there's even in Salt Lake City, there might not be 80 different things happening downtown.
From time to time, we'll have people say, "Why can't you be like the Sandy Amphitheater? Why can't you be like the one in Layton?" And we always laugh at that after we are frustrated by it, because we say they do a fraction of what we do. They do, I mean, maybe 20% of what we do in terms of total activities throughout the year, and then they do different things than we do, but we do so much more, and it's diverse and free mostly, and yeah, it's really remarkable what they do with the budget. And the other part of their funding, a chunk comes from the downtown merchants, and then the city funds a significant portion of it as well, because we felt like we needed it. We need more. The amphitheater, which they took over, we needed more events that the whole community could come down to. So it's about, I can't remember, it's about 50-50
Yeah, I think
between
that's what.
the city funding and the merchants.
Right.
And you see that happening in other cities as well, where there's
No.
that buy-in from the local city government?
Usually the city's plugging the hole for the losses. You know,
Okay.
a lot of the cities just do a handful of big concerts during the year, and then when they lose money, which they typically do, the city will write the check for the losses. Is that fairly
Yeah,
accurate?
pretty much. And we've had other cities come up and meet with us, and they want to see how we do this community programming, because they've done some programming and then maybe get 1 or 200 people. And our family night at the movies, Monday night at the movies, we'll draw 2,000 people, several thousand at the concerts, and people bring their blankets, their popcorn, their root beer, sit out and enjoy the activities under the stars. And that's what really drives people into the downtown to support the merchants, is when you bring those kind of crowds. The payback and return on investment just goes right back into your community.
Are the merchants okay paying what you would call their fair share to get these events downtown? Or are
Yeah,
there a
most
few
of
little
them-
mumblings going on maybe?
On occasion, most of them are very supportive. Most of them see the benefits, can see the changes that have taken place in downtown Ogden over the last 12 or 15 years, and they just love to see what can happen. And the future looks very bright going forward. Very, especially comparable to other cities and the struggles that we're having. Ogden's just done great.
Well, once again, this is your show at Inside Ogden. We'd love you to climb inside with us. The phone number is 801-629-8411. Call and ask Dan a question about upcoming events, the mayor a question about all the budget and the RDA debt / profit explanation that he gave us earlier, because we want you to be involved in this show. This is done for you. Mayor, a couple questions, and then we'll get back to Dan and find out what's happening later July and into August, if we might. But we have a river project that is now going into phase 2 or 3, and that is a beautiful project. And if you have any time at all after tomorrow, when it's only 40, it's really time to grab your youngster's hand or your partner's hand and go down there and start to walk this river and really appreciate what's happening down there.
It's amazing, and it's running at the very top. So if you want to see what that river is capable of handling in terms of water flow, you need to go right now. But the river project has been going on for a long time, and we're making good progress. We have one developer called South River who unveiled their plans to move forward. We have a development agreement with them and look forward to working with them to get under construction. There are several meetings, several things that will be approved through the month of May, and then we anticipate that they will be out breaking ground this summer and building out the plan that has had a community process to develop in the river project. We met earlier today with another development group, the landowner who owns the majority of the remaining river project, 60 acres, and they're very anxious to also get their development agreement signed and underway so they can begin construction this year also. So that project that has struggled to gain definition, we've had a lot of interested parties, and we've talked about this on the show many times, is gone from negotiations to actual contracts and plans, and they're pushing us to get these final approvals through the council and planning commission so they can get building.
Fantastic. And there is a project that Bill Francis and I worked on that airs. I love when that music comes in. Dan's a very popular guy.
He is.
We did a little piece on the river project, encouraging people from individuals to corporations to go ahead and look inside and donate to help finish some of that off. And that runs right here on Ogden Channel 17 every once in a while. So as you look through the mega data sheets on there, which is what we call your program data, as you look on there, and you'll find Ogden River Restoration. Pay attention to that. That's a beautiful little piece, and did a nice job on that. Also, I want to ask you, and this is kind of fun for me because normally I ask Mayor these things and he says he can't comment. I was at a business-to-business expo, and David, I love it when you don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, and me too.
Okay. Alan Hall, who has an office building right across the street from us here, stood up and he said, here's my personal email, and he gave it out there, and he said, because we're going to be handling 200 jobs from Google, and we need Ogden residents right now to handle these jobs from Google. And I knew you weren't going to be able to talk about that, so I just thought I'd backdoor you. So we have a few more jobs from Google coming in. Can you talk about it now or not? Now that I've blown that off.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well,
who
I can
the
confirm.
Employer is.
I can confirm
because
that.
I have been told we cannot disclose who the employer is. But
Hypothetically, if Alan had said that and I heard that last week, that's probably another good little thing for downtown Ogden.
It may be true if Alan Hall said it. Yeah, it's a big deal to have a company like Marcastar adding jobs during the Great Recession, and we're talking about how the economy is coming back, but jobs have been really slow to come back, and so having somebody looking to hire 2 people immediately is exciting.
200.
What
You said 2.
2?
Yeah.
200.
2 by 2 by 2. It's like a Noah's Ark type of thing we're doing.
2 at a time. Yeah.
2 at a time.
That's what I meant. The job fair is going on right now as we speak. There's a job fair going on over at the Ogden Eccles Conference Center in downtown until, I'm going to peek over here, 9 tonight, and then on Saturday from 10 in the morning until 4 it'll be going on. Just go show up. If you think you may be interested in working, they need people with sales experience and a degree. And they'll do combinations of the two. So go show up. We need to get these jobs filled and keep them in our community, because the deal is, if we don't fill them with residents from our community, they're going to go to other communities and they'll open up a shop in another community. We're trying to demonstrate that we have people here who are plenty capable and are looking for a job. So please help your family and help the community by applying.
I would imagine these are going to be pretty nice little jobs.
They're nice paying jobs. There's a good base salary, which I'll disclose because I think I can, but the base salary is between $30,000 and $35,000, and then commissions above that, and they expect that most people will be making a very, very nice salary, and it's not capped, so you have the ability to make as
show
much
some
as you
incentive.
sell. Yeah, so these are family sustainable jobs.
Fantastic.
Great.
And we did have the announcement of Alan saying that on tape. I should have warned Bill. We could have brought it in and blew that up. Oh,
Today we're out hiring 200 new employees to help us with a Google piece of business. We're trying like crazy to find 200 people. Anybody looking for work, raise your hand. I'll see you right after. I need 200 people fast.
oh, that was Alan when he was speaking.
So,
And he did give his personal email out and said, we need those jobs filled, so email me right now, and if you know somebody, have them email me.
so how did Bill cue that up so fast? That's what I want to know.
He had it. He
He's
had
a
it.
miracle worker over
He's
there.
good.
Imagine that Bill and I were together there at that business-to-business fair. And another employer here that I was just talking to a couple of days ago, and people know very little about, but they are absolutely a marvelous local company, and that's techmedianetwork.com. And you may know them by top
10 reviews.
Top 10 reviews. But I was talking to the founder there, Jerry Ropaletto, and he was saying, we really need people from Ogden, excuse me, computer programming types to come on and let us know that we can fill the jobs that we have in Ogden right now, because they're being forced a little bit to look outside of Ogden for these type of really nice paying jobs in the computer programming business. So there's two opportunities for you right now, and I know you
Yeah.
know Jerry, and they really need some help.
And it's a great company. They've purchased a lot of other domains like space.com, and they had a list there, and I recognized many of the domains that they own. And it's if you have abilities in web design, they're looking for writers, I think, as well. It's a great company. They pay very, very well. They did open an office in American Fork
Yeah.
because they're saying they couldn't get the people. And I know they're here. I know we have people who have these skills, and I think they're just they're unknown and hidden, and we just need to get the word out. So and they're going to be holding a training class because they want to.
I was supposed to ask
develop
you
the
about that.
market.
He said to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming along. We're
Okay,
we're
good.
going to do a training class. It's in June. And they'll put it up on the screen for me here in a second because in June, at the old City Council chamber, so it's 2484 Washington Boulevard, there'll be a one-day. It's on a Friday. There'll be an all-day seminar where they will teach you e-commerce and a lot of the skills which they say are kind of the tricks to the trade and how to do well in the e-commerce world. And so it is something that they said you would pay thousands of dollars to learn if somebody would tell you, and they're going to do it for $199. And for them, I think they're hoping that as this grows, you have more people in the community that have this expertise. It'll be good for them.
Absolutely. And that's a great company. If you have 10 minutes, just go to techmedianetwork.com and look at all the brands under there, and then you'll want to drive by and say, I never knew they were there. And it's an incredible local employer. So take the time and do that. Okay, let's talk about the end of July and into August with Dan Musgrave here from Downtown Ogden Inc. and the fun things that you still have to put on your calendar for this summer.
Well, and the one thing we wanted to get on your calendar too is the Pioneer Days concert, which is June 25th. We're partnering with Enable Industries and bringing in a band called Little Texas.
Oh, good.
And very renowned group, lots of major hits, crossover, western, country, rock. They do it all. So this can be a great concert, and it will be a fundraiser for Enable Industries. And we just got a lot of people involved in that and volunteering, and it's going to be a great concert for us downtown. Also then on July 18th, it's been a tradition now with Pioneer Days to do our Family Night to Remember, and that will take place. And the fun thing is when you come down to the Family Night to Remember and you take your places in your seats, that is also the night of the Horse and Hitch Parade. And so all these beautiful horses and carriages and everything that takes place in that parade comes right down Washington Boulevard, right past the amphitheater, and then circles back to the stadium. So that's a great night. Again, it's on a Monday night, great family event for everyone to participate in.
But if this Family Night to Remember is so good, what happens if they forget last year's Family Night to Remember that they were supposed to remember?
Well, they'll remember this year, and they'll
That's
be
all
here.
that's important.
Yeah.
And they should know that next year's will be even better.
We're just
Yes.
taking it a year at a time.
Yeah, 1 year at a time.
I wondered, Mayor, how's the trolley doing?
It's doing well. In fact, Dan may be able to tell us, but the last that I heard, it's the ridership is growing. It's just kind of steadily growing, and we've always believed that the big months will be the summer months. I think during Christmas Village will be a big time as people grow accustomed to it, but the summer months where it's warmer outside and there are more things to connect to, I think we'll have better ridership. But do you have anything?
Yeah, it's building, and it is a summertime trolley. That's when we get the kids and the scout groups and the church groups want to come down, ride the trolley, ring the bell, run to the different shops. And
do folks know
events
where
that are
they can
going on.
catch the trolley? Is that again on your website, or is that on the Ogden City website?
Yeah, it's actually on both websites.
Okay.
And then we have the stops marked that where you can get on and get off. And there's 12 stops around downtown, so people
Bill could have
can come
called
in.
that up too, couldn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure. he
Probably.
could.
No, he doesn't have that loaded
Moment's
in his
notice.
computer. Okay.
But people can come up and ride the front runner and step right off and get on the trolley and do the loop. So, yeah, it's a fun thing for the groups.
And that's a good thing for downtown businesses, owners. They have to really appreciate that effort as well. We have 2 trolleys going.
Yes, one at a time. But we do have 2 of them that are up and moving all the time. There it is. He is amazing. That's the wizard over there.
Captain Fingers, that's what we call it.
We just talk, and he finds a way to put something together that's relevant.
And there's your trolley, and you've seen that. And of course, that was wrapped by the good folks right down here on the corner of 25th and
Imaging Depot.
Imaging
Imaging
Depot.
Depot, yeah.
Yeah, they did that for Ogden City. So a lot of fun things happening. Finally, this is the time when folks are going to get outside, start to get outside, and there's a lot of things happening on the trails and some trails expansions, and that's been a focus of yours over the last several years as well. You have to be proud of what's happening there.
Yeah, we've added dozens of acres of open space. We've finished now, I don't even remember. We have approved, or in the approval process, hundreds of miles of additional trail. We've finished dozens of miles of new trail throughout the community, up on the mountain, along the river. And the hardest sections, I think it's, these were the portions that weren't done because there were major barriers. They were challenging to do, expensive, and so there's been a lot of major connections happen. And then this year we hope to get through some Forest Service approvals, and we'll see a lot of new trail development up on the mountain, connecting some of the great trails together.
Oh, fantastic. Well, this has been an educational and fun show. Dan, tell people where to go again if they can, so they can get information about everything happening with Downtown Ogden Inc. this summer.
DowntownOgdenInc.org. And then there's also OgdenFarmersMarket.com. There's OCAE.org that has the schedule of all the events and activities. So any one of those three will direct you back and get you the calendar and all the events. So.
Okay. And then we talked about the periphery events happening, the Ogden River, the trail expansion. We also talked about the job fair going on. But Mayor, one more time, if not a recap, but just tell folks again about the budget information and about the maybe misinformation that's been out there and where they can find what you presented tonight.
Yeah, go to ogdencity.com and you can, and just if you type in the search budgets or CAFR, CAFR, it'll take you to the report and you can look through all the data yourself. But what we see surface from time to time with people who are very politically motivated, they have their own agenda, and they'll throw up these horrifying numbers, and they're trying to draw correlations between the federal debt, which is clearly out of control, and what's going on in Ogden City, saying, we have $100 million of debt, and how are we ever going to, we've indebted our grandchildren, and there's no way we can repay it, etc., which is bogus. And so we're going to be paid out our general obligation debt, which is the city debt that people usually are referring to, would be paid off in 4 to 5 years. The city is in better financial condition now than it has been in probably a generation, while other cities are struggling with budgets, and you'll see that repeatedly on the news over the next 2 months. We're not in great shape. We're not going to be giving raises this year, but we are not doing the layoffs that other communities are seeing. We've been very, very stable, and we're paying off debt early. And this year, we're proposing a 10-year budget plan, which will actually be putting money aside so we can create better stability for our employees moving forward. This has never been done before. We're not aware of any city that has ever put together a 10-year financial plan and is putting money aside to create a stable environment for our workers moving forward. So we're in very, very good shape. The RDA debt we have is a big number. As I mentioned, it's over $50 million, and that's a good thing. It means people are investing in the areas of our town we need them to invest in, and the return on that, which is over $11 million a year in additional property tax revenue, is going to continue to flow into our coffers even when those bonds are paid off. And once again, those bonds are not being paid off by your tax dollars and my tax dollars, are being paid off by the developers who are the originators and the recipients of that debt.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a good explanation. That will do it for this edition of Inside Ogden. We'll be back. We're going to have to set that time because Bill said he's going to take a vacation or something, so we need to figure out when we're going to do it. We want to thank our entire Francis Family Studio audience for joining us today, Bill, Janae, and Ethan. And that'll do it for us until we do this show again. Thanks very much for joining us. Have a very pleasant good evening.